Good morning. It's been raining since about 4:30 yesterday, late afternoon. Yes, I did find my hat. And that's outside. As you can see, through my, I don't think I explained well enough, I have a bug screen that's sewn, that zip in, so it's zipped into my hammock right down here. There's the zippers, and then on the other side, you see the camouflage. It's like a batch of camouflage pattern. That is my underquilt protector, which is a real thin, waterproof sil poly that keeps splash from the rain, from the dirt splashing up and splashing mud all over and water on the bottom of my hammock, and more importantly, my underquilt. You don't want to get that wet, it's down. So that's the view through my mosquito net. And then you can see I lowered my tarp. This shows you a peek, a better peek than looking towards my feet, which are right here. And you can see my doors. I've got them fastened with a bungee cord. They're fastened together inside, so they're folded in. And all you have to do is unhook that, and that bungee cord hooks, this side will hook diagonally across to my left, and the other side that's up there will hook down this way, and then that way it'll, they flap over and form what would turn this into a tent. It's elevated tent, basically. I love to hear the rain on my tarp. This tarp also is made out of Dyneema composite fabric. So it's, this whole tarp only weighs, I think, 6 ounces. It's like ultra light, but it's more waterproof than sil poly. It's actually completely waterproof. Nothing can get in it. It doesn't absorb any water at all. Alright, I'll see you later. Hi guys, it's John here, back to my camping spot. Got all my work done. I even had to run to town. I'm smoking 2023 Kringle Flake by Sutliff in a Savinelli Clark's Favorite Smooth. It's a bent apple smooth. I just heard somebody mentioning that Kringle Flake and how dry it was, and I didn't remember mine being dry, and I didn't really remember it being anything special, so I made sure I got some out and to try again, just to see how I like it. I don't know about you guys, but my tastes change all the time, and sometimes things I didn't care for, I think are pretty good. And I'm not sure if that's the pipe, something I've eaten and drunk is not affecting it negatively. Really not sure. or just the fact that my palate's changed. But I just watched Greg. He's on his way to the Richmond, Virginia pipe show. I wished I could go. He's going to have a blast. He's got a camper with him, or the camper in the back of his truck. I'm not sure. He was inside having coffee, and it looked like a fun setup. So if you're ever watching this, Greg, I wished I could have gone down there with you. I would have loved to spend a few hours talking to you. And anyway, I hope you have fun and no issues on the road getting there or back home. So it rained. It's been raining all day, and it started raining at 4:30 in the afternoon yesterday. Rained all night, and today when I had to go back up to the house to do some work, I modified my tarp setup so I had more room, and also I didn't have water dripping on me. I've got my tarp in porch mode, the front. The back is, I don't know if you can tell, but the back is going straight down pretty much like a pup tent would go down, or an A-frame setup. In the front, I've got trekking poles on both sides propping it up. One shorter one over here, one longer one over here, so that it slopes this way, so the water pours off away from me and not right in the center. If you don't do that, you end up pooling it, and then it'll start hits every so often. A bunch of it splashes down there and gets you all wet. And then what I did is I flew another tarp above this one that's wider, so I've got 2 more feet extension out here. So this is going to be really dry. So that's what I did differently. But last night I was completely warm, dry, and cozy, because it wasn't raining hard, really. And you know, I've got underquilts and overquilts, and I put this thing that you can see right here is it's a waterproof, real thin nylon underquilt protector, so that goes under everything. And then if it rains hard enough, that if rain is splashing on the ground and bouncing mud water up, it will keep it from bouncing up onto your it's critical to stay dry underquilt, because it's made out of down, so you can't ever let that get wet, and you don't want it to get dirty either. A down product, something you hope you never ever have to wash, basically. So you always do everything you can to keep it clean. Like, I always sleep with long, real loose fitting long underwear type clothing for my pajamas, just so that when I get into my underquilt and my hammock and all that stuff, I'm not getting any skin oils or anything on any of my equipment. So that prolongs its life and keeps you from having to wash it. But everything was worked out great. I just heard a deer way off this way snorting, trying to wind me. And I could tell it was circling around behind me as it was snorting and stuff, they do that to clear their sinuses. They blow out and blast wind or air through their sinus cavities, and that blows any extra mucus out, and then when they breathe in, they can smell better. That's why they're doing that. But he stopped doing it, or she, and so they probably winded me and went on by. I was saying yesterday or the day before, I don't ever see deer in here anymore at all. And I used to see them like every day. I think the dogs just harassed them to the point, and they're not even out. They're inside a fenced-in area, but they always bark. And if they're near the fence, they run up to the fence and scare them away. And I think they've just sort of harassed them, so they are staying, you know, half a mile or a quarter of a mile away from that fence and the dogs. I don't know. Because I know they're everywhere here. There are tons of them around here. Let me know if any of you guys like camping, or if you've had any experience backpacking or and using a hammock. I'd love to know that. I don't think they can compare with a tent, because with a tent, you need a dry, you need a flat area free of rocks and roots and stuff. And I basically defy anybody to find one around here. Like literally anywhere here, there's nothing. And on the Ozark Trail, there's no space. I've never seen anything like that either. The only thing you could have like that is if you actually stopped in at a campground and they had, you know, pads they made, or it was in like an old cultivated field that was smooth. So when I've hiked on the Ozark Trail, whenever I want to stop, I just go 90 degrees from the trail. Usually I'll take a bearing so that I don't get screwed up. And then I'll just start hiking whichever way, and I also have fluorescent surveyor tape that I create breadcrumbs because you can get turned around. Some lady died on the Appalachian Trail just from going to the bathroom and never found the trail again, and she was out there starving to death for over a month and then finally died. So anyway, I make a breadcrumb trail with surveyor tape. Then I don't have to worry about compass bearing anymore. And then I just keep walking and looking around until I find two trees that are the right distance apart, and make sure that there's no widowmakers above me. And widowmaker is just a broken snag or something hanging in the trees, in the limbs, and if the wind blows, it'll fall down. Or no dead tree either. You can't, and you want to make sure that the trees you're hanging on are not dead. So once you find two suitable trees, the ground underneath you is pretty irrelevant. You don't want a bunch of like little bushes and, you know, small saplings in between the two trees. You want it pretty clear of that stuff. But you can have rocks under there, or, you know, a log or anything, and it doesn't matter. And then when you pack up and leave, you leave literally no trace, because you didn't have a footprint, tent footprint or anything on the ground anyway, so nobody can tell you were even there. Well, I'm gonna sign off for a while. I've been blabbing for 11 and a half minutes. I found my hat. It was inside my hammock. It must have fallen off during the night. So yesterday when I came back to go get in bed, I found it. So, until next time, God bless.